Most people don't remember the year 2018 as anything special in American coinage, and that's exactly why this story matters. Somewhere right now, sitting quietly in a jar, a drawer, or a forgotten roll of change, there could be a 2018 D1 cent penny that looks completely ordinary. It feels light in the hand, almost worthless, the kind of coin people don't even bother picking up from the ground. And yet, behind closed doors in whispered conversations between seasoned collectors, that same penny has been appearing again and again in auctions, private auctions, invitation-only auctions, and elite collector auctions where prices don't make sense to outsiders. This is one of those coins that hides in plain sight, ignored by millions, while a small group of smart collectors scan auctions worldwide, waiting patiently for the right example to surface. To understand why the 2018 D1 cent penny has become such a quiet obsession in auction circles, you have to go back to what was happening at the Denver Mint in 2018. Billions of pennies were struck that year, flooding circulation and convincing the public that none of them could ever be special. That belief is exactly what creates opportunity. When production numbers are high, most people assume value is impossible, so they spend the coins without a second thought. But collectors know something different. They know that value isn't about how many were made, but about how many survived in perfect condition, how many show unusual characteristics, and how many slipped through quality control in ways that only become obvious years later, especially when those coins start appearing in auctions and collectors begin comparing notes. The design of the 2018 D penny itself feels familiar, almost comforting. Abraham Lincoln's profile, dignified and calm, stares to the right just as it has for decades. On the reverse, the Union Shield stands as a symbol of national unity, a design that many people barely glance at anymore. But seasoned collectors, especially those who spend hours studying auction listings, know that tiny differences in this design can make all the difference. The sharpness of Lincoln's cheek, the definition in his beard, the clarity of the date, and even the thickness of the lettering can separate a common penny from one that collectors will fight over in auctions. What really fuels the fascination with the 2018 D penny is the way certain examples were struck. Some coins show exceptionally strong strikes, with razor-sharp details that suggest a fresh die and perfect pressure. Others reveal subtle errors that are so small most people would never notice them without magnification. A slightly off-center strike, a faint doubling on the date or lettering, unusual die cracks, or microscopic variations in the mint mark can transform a 1-cent coin into a star of the auction world. These are the pennies that don't show up in everyday change anymore. Instead, they surface quietly in auctions, sometimes mislabeled, sometimes underestimated, until 2 or 3 knowledgeable bidders recognize what they're seeing and push the price higher and higher. Condition plays a huge role in why auction prices for this coin keep climbing. A 2018 D penny that circulated even briefly loses its magic. But a coin that was pulled straight from a mint roll and carefully preserved, showing blazing red copper surfaces with no spots, no scratches, and no wear, becomes something else entirely. At the highest grading levels, the difference between near-perfect and absolutely flawless can mean thousands of dollars at auction. Collectors who participate in high-end auctions understand this obsession with perfection. They scrutinize photos, request additional images, and sometimes even travel to view coins in person before bidding in major auctions. There's also the psychology of auctions that surrounds this coin. Once a few high-profile auction sales hinted that exceptional 2018 D pennies were commanding serious money, the narrative changed. Collectors began to search more aggressively. Auction houses started highlighting top-graded examples. Private collectors began trading them quietly through closed-door auctions that never make headlines. Every time a new record price appears in an auction, it reinforces the idea that this coin is no longer just pocket change. It becomes a trophy, something to own not just for its metal, but for the story and the prestige attached to it. What makes this story even more intriguing is how overlooked the coin still is by the general public. While collectors scour auctions daily, most people still toss 2018 pennies into jars without a second thought. That gap between perception and reality is where fortunes are made. Some of the most talked about auction discoveries began with someone casually checking their spare change or opening an old roll and noticing something that looked just a little too perfect. From there, the journey leads to grading services, then to auctions, and finally to bidding wars among collectors who understand exactly what they're looking at. Behind the scenes, there are stories of collectors who missed out, who hesitated at auction, who thought the price was already too high, only to watch the next auction result double or triple. There are also stories of patient buyers who waited years, monitoring auctions quietly until the right coin appeared. When it did, they acted decisively, knowing that opportunities like that don't come often. These are the kinds of stories that fuel the legend of the 2018 D-penny and keep interest alive in collector auctions around the world. As time passes, the supply of top-quality examples continues to shrink. Coins get mishandled, spots develop, surfaces tone unpredictably. Every year, fewer perfect specimens remain. That scarcity is reflected again and again in auction results. What once sold for modest sums now draws serious bids, and what sells for serious money today may look cheap compared to future auction prices. This slow, steady climb is exactly what experienced collectors look for, and it's why they keep a close eye on this penny in every auction catalog. All of this builds toward the moment that surprises almost everyone who isn't already deep into the auction scene. When an absolutely flawless, top-graded 2018 D1 cent penny with exceptional strike quality and pristine surfaces appears in the right auction, with the right bidders watching, the results can be shocking. In elite collector auctions, where competition is fierce and prestige matters as much as the coin itself, prices can soar far beyond what most people think is possible for a modern penny. And that's where the story reaches its final twist. While millions of people still believe a 2018 penny is worth exactly 1 cent, auction records tell a very different story. In the highest levels of the collector market, a truly extraordinary 2018 D1 cent penny has reached a jaw-dropping value of up to $80,000. Not because it's old, not because it's gold, but because it's rare in the only way that truly matters to collectors. The next time you see a 2018 penny, remember that somewhere in an auction room filled with experts, that same coin could be worth more than most people earn in years, all because someone knew what to look for and paid attention to what everyone else ignored. Private auctions add another layer of mystery. Not every sale is public. Some of the highest prices for 2018 D-pennies are rumored to have occurred in closed-door auctions, where collectors negotiate discreetly and numbers are never officially published. These private auction deals fuel speculation and push public auction prices even higher, as bidders assume that what they're seeing is only part of the story. Every confirmed auction result becomes a benchmark, a reference point that collectors use to justify even stronger bids the next time a similar coin appears. Most people never stop to think about a 1998 D1 cent penny. It's the kind of coin that passes through hands unnoticed, dropped into jars, forgotten in drawers, or spent without a second glance. Yet among serious collectors, especially those who live and breathe auctions, this penny has quietly built a reputation that surprises almost everyone who hears about it for the first time. While the public assumes it's just another modern cent, collectors around the world keep watching auctions closely, knowing that the right 1998 D-penny can turn an ordinary moment into something unforgettable. The year 1998 sits at an interesting point in U.S. coin history. The Lincoln Memorial design was nearing the end of its long run, and the Denver Mint was producing massive quantities of cents to meet circulation demand. On paper, that sounds like a recipe for a completely common coin. But auctions tell a different story. High production numbers often hide rare outcomes, because when billions are struck, only a tiny fraction survive in absolutely perfect condition. Auction specialists understand this, which is why the 1998 D-penny keeps appearing in auction catalogs, sometimes quietly, sometimes highlighted, always watched closely by experienced bidders. At first glance, the design feels familiar. Lincoln's portrait shows strength and calm, The lettering appears simple, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse feels almost invisible to people who grew up seeing it every day. But in auctions, nothing about this coin is treated casually. Collectors examine the sharpness of Lincoln's jawline, the clarity of the date, the spacing of the letters, and the strength of the Denver mint mark. Small differences that mean nothing to the average person become critical details in auctions, where value is built on precision and rarity. One reason the 1998 D penny has gained traction in auctions is the quality of certain strikes. Some examples were struck with exceptional force using fresh dies, resulting in crisp details and smooth, blazing copper surfaces. These coins look dramatically different from worn circulation pieces. When one of these high-quality examples appears in auctions, especially graded at the very top levels, competition becomes intense. Collectors know that once these coins are gone, they may not see another comparable example for years, if ever. Errors and subtle varieties add another layer of intrigue that fuels auction excitement. A slight doubling in the lettering, a faint die crack, unusual surface textures, or unexpected strike characteristics can transform a simple penny into an auction standout. These features are often invisible without magnification, which is why many valuable 1998 D pennies went unnoticed for years. When one finally shows up in auctions with a proper description, seasoned collectors recognize the opportunity instantly, and bidding reflects that recognition. Condition is everything in this market. A 1998 D penny that circulated for even a short time loses most of its appeal to auction buyers. But a coin preserved from the moment it left the mint, showing full red color, clean fields, and no distractions, becomes something special. At elite auctions, the difference between near-perfect and absolutely flawless can mean dramatic jumps in price. This is why collectors spend hours studying auction images, comparing them to known high-grade examples, and waiting patiently for the right coin to appear. Auction psychology plays a powerful role here. Once a few strong auction results establish a new benchmark, expectations shift. Collectors begin to view the 1998 D penny differently, not as a common coin, but as a modern rarity at the highest levels. Auction houses respond by featuring these coins more prominently, knowing that interest is growing. Each successful auction reinforces the narrative, drawing even more attention from collectors who don't want to miss the next opportunity. There's also the quiet influence of private auctions. Not every major sale becomes public. Some of the most impressive prices for 1998 D pennies are believed to have happened behind closed doors, in collector-only auctions where details are shared selectively. These private auction results create a sense of mystery and urgency. Public auction bidders assume that if prices are strong and private, then competition in open auctions will only intensify, and that belief pushes bids even higher. What makes the story even more fascinating is how disconnected it is from everyday reality. Millions of people still carry 1998 pennies without realizing that collectors are scanning auctions worldwide for specific examples of that same coin. This gap between public perception and auction reality is what creates opportunity. Some of the most exciting auction stories begin with someone casually checking old rolls or inherited collections and discovering a coin that looks just a little too perfect to ignore. Over time, the supply of top-grade 1998 D pennies continues to shrink. Coins are mishandled, improperly stored, or damaged beyond recovery. Every year that passes makes pristine examples harder to find, and auctions reflect that scarcity. What sold for modest amounts years ago now commands serious attention, and collectors watching auction trends understand that waiting too long can mean paying far more later. As this pattern continues, the 1998 D1 penny steadily earns its place in the modern collector world. Auction by auction, sale by sale, it proves that value doesn't depend on age alone. It depends on condition, rarity at the top, and the quiet agreement among collectors that this coin deserves respect. While the general public keeps overlooking it, collectors remain focused, watching every auction, waiting for the next exceptional example to appear. In the end, The story of a 1998 D penny is a reminder that some of the most interesting treasures are hiding in plain sight. Somewhere right now, there could be a coin waiting to step out of obscurity and into the spotlight of a major auction. And when it does, the bidding will tell the real story, one that few people ever expect from a single cent. So as this story comes to a close, the 1998 D1 cent penny remains exactly where it began, hidden in plain sight. It's still passing from hand to hand, still resting in jars and drawers, still ignored by almost everyone who touches it. Yet at the same time, it lives a second life in auctions, in collector auctions, in private auctions, and in closed-door auctions where knowledgeable buyers quietly compete and prices climb without noise or headlines. That contrast is what makes this penny so powerful. The next time you see a 1998 D penny, you might pause just a little longer. You might wonder where it's been, how it was struck, and whether it's one of the rare survivors that collectors search for in auctions around the world. Because history has already shown that the right example, in the right condition, at the right auction, can change everything. What looks like 1 cent today could be the coin that collectors fight over tomorrow. In the world of coin collecting, auctions reveal truths most people never see. They expose which coins matter, which details make the difference, and which overlooked pieces quietly rise in value over time. The 1998 D penny has earned its place in that world, not through hype, but through steady demand and growing respect in auctions year after year. And that's the real takeaway. Sometimes the greatest opportunities aren't loud or obvious. Sometimes they sit silently in your pocket, waiting for someone curious enough to look closer. Because while most people keep spending these pennies without a thought, smart collectors keep watching auctions, knowing that the smallest coin can still hold the biggest surprise. Most people don't give a second thought to a 2012 1-cent penny. To the casual eye, it's just another modern coin, struck at the Philadelphia or Denver Mint and slipped into circulation without fanfare. Yet for collectors, especially those who track auctions closely, the 2012 penny quietly holds a fascination that surprises almost everyone who hears about it. While the public assumes it's ordinary, seasoned collectors scour auctions. Public auctions, private auctions, invitation-only auctions, and collector-only auctions, hoping to find an exceptional example that could be worth far more than its face value suggests. The year 2012 was a typical production year for the U.S. Mint. Yet every coin tells a story beyond what meets the eye. Abraham Lincoln's portrait dominates the obverse as it has for more than a century, his gaze steady, calm, and almost timeless. On the reverse, the Union Shield represents unity and continuity, an image repeated hundreds of millions of times. But collectors know that subtle differences in strike quality, surface texture, and minting characteristics can transform a coin from a forgotten piece of change into a sought-after collector item. Those differences are tiny, often invisible to the untrained eye, but in auctions, they define value. High-quality strikes from 2012 are particularly prized. Some coins emerge from the Denver or Philadelphia Mint with perfect alignment, razor-sharp details, and a rich red copper color that seems almost to glow under magnification. These coins are rare because most 2012 pennies entered circulation immediately, rubbing against other coins, wallets, and pockets. When an untouched, flawless 2012 penny appears in an auction, it immediately attracts attention. Experienced collectors know exactly what to look for, and they can be ruthless in bidding to secure it. Errors and minor varieties add another layer of allure. Slight doubling of the date or lettering, microscopic die cracks, unusual mint mark positioning, or subtle variations in the relief can turn an otherwise ordinary penny into a star of collector auctions. Often, these errors are so small that they go unnoticed for years, only to be identified when the coin surfaces in an auction with detailed photographs and descriptions. That's when bidding can skyrocket, as collectors who have been following the coin's journey seize the opportunity to add a rare find to their collections. Condition is everything in determining auction value for a 2012 penny. Circulated examples, even if they appear clean, carry tiny scratches, and where that diminished their appeal. By contrast, a coin preserved straight from the mint, showing full red luster and no blemishes, can command serious attention. Top-graded examples in auctions often sell for hundreds or even thousands of times their face value. Collectors follow auction results meticulously, using each sale as a benchmark for future purchases. The psychology of auctions also plays a huge role. Once a few notable 2012 pennies achieve high prices in auction rooms or online auctions, interest surges. Collectors begin scanning every listing, attending more auctions, and even participating in private auctions where competition is fierce and details are closely guarded. The scarcity of high-grade examples combined with the growing desire of collectors fuels intense bidding wars. Every auction, whether public or private, contributes to the growing narrative of the 2012 penny as a coin worth watching. What makes this coin especially interesting is how overlooked it remains by the general public. Millions of 2012 pennies still circulate, tossed into jars, or spent without a second glance, while collectors track auctions worldwide, monitoring price trends and waiting patiently for the right example to appear. This gap between public perception and collector insight is exactly what allows auction values to climb quietly but steadily over time. Over the years, the supply of pristine 2012 pennies has dwindled. Coins are damaged, mishandled, or otherwise compromised, making top-quality specimens increasingly rare. Auctions reflect that scarcity, with prices rising as collectors compete for what remains. Those who understand this pattern recognize that patience and knowledge of the auction market are key. Missing one opportunity may mean waiting years for another comparable coin to surface. In every auction where a high-grade 2012 penny appears, a story unfolds. Bidders scrutinize images, analyze minting characteristics, and anticipate competitor strategies. What looks like a simple coin in a catalog can become the center of intense competition in live auctions, online auctions, and private auctions. The drama is subtle but powerful, and for collectors who have been following the coin, winning that auction is a moment of triumph. The 2012 1-cent penny may not be old, it may not seem rare, and it may not carry the mystique of early 20th century cents. Yet in the world of collector auctions, it has proven time and again that modern coins can hold extraordinary value. It's a reminder that even the most ordinary coin, when preserved perfectly and recognized in the right auction, can become something extraordinary. And so, the 2012 penny waits. Hidden in jars, tucked in drawers, passed along in change, it remains quiet and overlooked. But collectors know better. They watch auctions, study details, and understand that the right 2012 penny at the right auction could achieve remarkable prices, turning what seems like a simple coin into a collector's treasure. And as we wrap up the story of the 2012 1-cent penny, remember that what seems ordinary to most can be extraordinary to the right eyes. While millions of these pennies continue to circulate unnoticed, hidden in jars, drawers, and rolls, collectors around the world are quietly scanning auctions. Public auctions, private auctions, invitation-only auctions, and collector-only auctions, waiting for the perfect example to appear. Every auction result, every high-grade coin that surfaces, reinforces the value of patience, knowledge, and a keen eye for detail. The beauty of this coin lies in its quiet mystery. It's a reminder that treasures often hide in plain sight, that value doesn't always depend on age or material, but on rarity, condition, and the collector's understanding of the market. That single penny you toss into a jar today could be the star of a major auction tomorrow, commanding attention, admiration, and a price far beyond what you ever imagined. In the world of coin collecting, auctions reveal the hidden stories that everyday life overlooks. The 2012 1-cent penny may be modern, common to the casual eye, yet has already earned its place among coins that command respect, attention, and serious bids in auctions around the globe. So next time you pick up a 2012 penny, pause, examine it, and consider that it might not be just 1 cent. It could be a hidden treasure waiting for its moment in the spotlight.